Welcome to the Forging Wellness Podcast, where we go beyond the basics of health and wellness to build stronger minds, bodies, and communities. I'm your host, Jesse Clark, a firefighter, paramedic, and coach with 19 years as a first responder. I have a passion for this job, for my family, and for truly enjoying life. But I'll be the first to admit I haven't always gotten it right. I've had my ups and downs, made mistakes, and learned some lessons the hard way. But that's what this podcast is all about: learning, growing, and forging a better path together. We're diving into mental and physical health, fitness, nutrition, sleep, leadership, real world challenges, history, and what it truly takes to thrive. Whether you're a current first responder, aspiring to be one, retired, or the spouse of one, this is for you. Life is more than just making it through the day. Let's forge ahead together. Now let's get into it. What's up, everyone? I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I was supposed to be interviewing Stephanie Kiesau this morning, and unfortunately, she had a critical incident that she is responding to that she absolutely had to be at. So we hope her the best in what she is doing, and we will have Stephanie on the show soon. But I'm going to do a solo episode. And I'm going to start with a question. The question is this: do we actually care about firefighter wellness, or do we just look at it when it's trending? This has been a huge frustration to me. I've had a number of conversations over the last week of shared frustrations across the country of how do we make this stick and how do we come up with the best standard overall? Because everybody should be doing it. Everybody should have access to it. I get not everybody is blessed with the same amount of money within their departments, but there's really opportunity to set some standards of what does the top tier look like that we want everybody to strive for. And when you don't have the ability to get to the top tier yet, what are some other steps that we can take to move the needle in the right direction? Because let's be real, there is so many apps and so many checklists out there for wellness. They can become overwhelming and just exhausting at times. And I don't know if that's it or not. I don't know if the market for this is oversaturated, and part of this comes probably from my bias of and frustration of trying to put together a wellness conference and not having the outcome that we had hoped for. Even though we have people that are telling us that they want to hear more about it, they want to do something about it. So maybe some of this is only just on me and my personal frustrations, but I want to hear from you guys too. Does the fire service really care about wellness, or does it just look good on the cover? Because in my mind, we still have people who aren't sleeping, marriages that are still struggling, stress injuries that are happening, and people who are still silently suffering while still doing a 48. They are trying to be heroes while still suffering on their own. And that can't be the case. We got to make this better. We can't be surprised anymore that people die by suicide. We can't be surprised when a retired member gets cancer or we have a cardiac event on the fire ground. The, these aren't new things anymore. And I think my biggest add-in for this would be, what did it take for the fire service to realize that prevention was needed? I know there's been many centuries of big fires with many lives lost. Was it was there metrics for it? Was it like, oh, this number finally hit this number, so now we can start putting smoke detectors in people's homes? Or was it just common sense? Because at this point, I feel like there's enough metrics and there should just be plenty of common sense saying that we need this for firefighters and first responders in general. And there's people who are talking about it all over the country. Um, what are departments actually grabbing onto? Here's the thing. I get that the new fire station, I get that the new fire engine is shiny and looks nice. And it's also needed as stuff gets outdated. But does that $1 million apparatus, is it worth more? Is it more important than even just one of our members? Because that seems to happen more often. And I mean, gets just seems to be more of an issue than rigs. I mean, we we can make any station, we can make any rig work. And yeah, is there something to be said about what that does for morale if we have good equipment? Sure, I won't take away from that. But just think how much impact we could have if we utilize that for strength and conditioning for our people, employed expert staff that knew how to take care of first responders on a mental, physical, all around level. And why don't we bring in expert consults on what's the best way to design our department so that way our firefighters can come in, do good work, and go home safely to their family. That's what this is all about. So, firehouse culture is slow to change. It always has been. But why does it have to be? A couple more questions. Do we support wellness when it's convenient? And why why does it still seem like seeking help or going to therapy is considered weak, but binge drinking on our regular days off is heroic and acceptable? But in reality, we know the hurt, the causes, and we just need to be caring about our people's nervous system. Culture changes from the inside on at the fire service level, and leadership isn't about rank; it's about influence. And if this is important to you, then you need to become that influence in your crew. Set the tone, make it happen. So this is also personal to me. Here's what I think. If we want to act like a brotherhood, sisterhood, then we have to care enough to build wellness into an actual culture, not just treat it like an afterthought, not wait until we have the retired person that dies of cancer. And then we're like, we've got to do something about it. And then when there's options that are presented to us, we drag our feet on it because, well, how do we find the best deal? Does it really matter in the end? Like, if we find the best deal, does it work? Does it save somebody's life potentially? Then let's do that. I'm really tired of dragging our feet on things. Like, we've had people tell us that this is the best way to detect a cardiac event. This is the best way to prevent those from even happening. And then also, do we have a way to screen for cancer? There's some out there that are working and are showing somewhat successful. Let's start exploring those. Let's do those. And then the final thing that I'll add, stop being scared of things that aren't necessarily proven specifically for firefighters, but are proven in so many other areas. Saunas, cold plunges, the hyperbaric treatment, potentially ketamine therapy. All of these things have significant benefit for so many people. And it's not a one size fits all, but we as department need to support all of these things fully. That means getting saunas, cold plunges, it grew utilization at this point, because the reality is, if it benefits one person, saves one person, wasn't it worth it? It's 3 grand. What is the cost of one of our firefighters' life? Because 3 grand is what a sauna costs. Uh, you know, cold plunge even less. But still, what do we put a price tag on our members? 15,000, $20,000, 200, $1 million. Where's the cutoff? So, uh, where can we make a difference with this stuff? Well, I've seen some things work, and I think my department's doing a relatively decent job. it could still do better. We need to go after some of the expert things. We need to bring in strength and conditioning coaches. We need to have a cardiac screening process that does imaging. And we need to stop beating around the bush just because we don't have the best deal. We need to start ultrasounding the most common areas for cancer and firefighters. So we potentially doing full body MRIs if those blood tests get better, or maybe it just comes down to educating people that chances are we're going to find some things. It doesn't like, let's find them though. Let's find them early so that we have the best possible outcome for these. And you can make the best informed decision for yourself and for your family. That's the reality. And that really goes for everybody. It's not just first responders. Everybody should be trying to figure out what they can for themselves, uh, so that they can have informed decisions. So, what do I think works? Uh, I I think for firefighters specifically, we need to have VO2 max testing both as a baseline and potentially on the fire ground to show where people stand and where they can improve. And if people don't meet the national standard of the VO2 max, they shouldn't be working on the line. They're a liability to themselves and to everyone else. And that might sound harsh, but the reality is that's what we all signed up for. We knew that when we went through a recruit academy, it wasn't an issue. But now, as we get later on in our career, it's okay for you to be the liability. I don't think so. We need movement screening because injuries are common in the fire service, and we need to try and figure out how to prevent injuries. We can't prevent all injuries, but we can take those little injuries, those nagging injuries because of maybe a mobility issue or something like that, and get rid of those. And then once we have a tailored strength and conditioning program, we can make sure that we're training people appropriately. And when they do have an injury, they can recover faster and better. Peer support, we know it. We know it's there. It needs to be proactive, not reactive. I don't know the best way to do that. There's apps out there. Sometimes it comes down to training, personnel, having the conversations, but we got to figure out a way for it to be proactive, not reactive. And I think that just comes with having the conversations, having good communication, looking out for one another, everybody trying their best, not shying away from conversations. We got to start early. We got to train recruits on this stuff early and why it's important. That's financial stability. That's therapy, strength and conditioning. That's nutrition. But that's early recognition of the fire service isn't your life. It's a job, it's a career, but it won't be there in the end. Your family will. So how do we set people up for success? We gotta give them the safety speech before they float down the river. We gotta give them the life jacket. We gotta give them the helmet. John Metz, this one's for you. I hope you're listening to this one, buddy, because made me think of our rafting trip the other day. You did a phenomenal job with the safety talk. You took it seriously, but still made it fun. And that way, everybody in the boat knew that there is some real danger to what we're getting ourselves into, but it's going to be a shit ton of fun. In order to make sure that it stays fun, we want to know all of the safety things. So, having the life jacket, having the helmet, knowing what to do in the event that a boat flips, and then knowing that there is somebody there who knows what the F is going on and who can upright the boat and get people back into the boat. But at the same time, everybody in the boat needs to be helping. Uh, it needs to be a team. So, anyway, I hope that makes sense to everybody. Metz, you did an awesome job of being an example of this. You do it on the fire service and just in regular everyday stuff. But that is the reality. We we've got to prepare people early. We can't launch them down a river, old wooden canoe, and just hope for the best. We've done that. That doesn't work. We got to give them the tools. We got to be there for them when stuff does happen, and we also got to make sure that we make it enjoyable as well, so that people want to do it, and so that they know that they can be strong a majority of the time. But when the boat flips, we're here. We'll get you back in. Okay. We we train all the time for fires. So why not start training for when the tones shut off as well? We've got to have training around it consistently. We've got to shift the culture. And I think it still is. I think it's still moving in the right direction. We got to stop hiding behind toughness. None of us are really that tough. I was having this conversation the other day. Started getting tattooed when I was 17 years old. I love my tattoos. I'm not nearly as tough as I once thought I was. Tattoos hurt, right? Sometimes the fire service hurts. It bites us. Be tough, but at the same time, we've got plenty of other people who have dealt with the same things. So let's talk about it. Let's get it right. And fire admin, stop stop hiding behind certain things. When people come to you with ideas, help them go after it. I get you can't do everything, but help them go after it. They come with several options, don't shoot them all down. And make sure that your legal isn't stonewalling everything either, because legal can be real good at that because they don't want to fight anything in court. But the reality is, it's legal advice. If we feel strongly that this is going to make a difference for our people, let's have some backbone and actually do it, regardless of what legal says, regardless of their crappy advice that they have sometimes. So, anyway, all this to say, what are you doing to lead this for your crew, for your department? And what are you doing to add to the solution? Don't just write out the problem, because it's never going to stop. We got to go after this. We got to make this right. We have to have members who can get through a career, marriage intact, not have a substance problem, know what they're going to do with themselves after they retire, not be worried about developing cancer, and not be worried about having a sudden cardiac event as they get close to that retirement date. So please, please, I beg of you, let's come together. Let's form a coalition that makes department heads get together and hear what are the best things from each department across the nation that they're doing right. Because there's some who are crushing in some areas and some who are struggling in other areas. But I would say across the country, we've got individual departments that are crushing it. So what is the gold standard of each category when it comes to wellness? Let's find that. Let's make a document that says this is the top tier thing that every department should be striving for, and then let's go after it. All right. I've gone on long enough, but my name's Jesse. If this is of interest to you, reach out to me. Either comment on the podcast, hit me up on social media, the Forging Wellness Instagram page, shoot me an email, forgingwellness208. Love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your ideas. I would love to know how we can continue to change this culture and really turn into a culture of prevention and proactiveness versus reactive. So let's figure out what the smoke detectors are for wellness. All right. Have a good day. That's it for this episode of the Forging Wellness Podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could benefit. Your support keeps this mission going. Want to help us grow? Consider making a donation. Every bit helps us bring more impactful content your way. Follow us on Instagram at ForgingWellness208 and check us out on YouTube. Thanks for being a part of the journey. Keep forging your wellness, and we'll see you next time.